Hello, welcome to November wrap up. This is going to be a wrap up where it's stitched together clips of me filming in different locations when I can because people are home. We're not talking about it. However, it was home this weekend. Um, but November wrap up. It's going to be a good time. Let me tell you, I read 21 books. I just realized I'm holding you with the hand that I need to use my mouse with. This is an issue. Whoops. Okay, back to reading off stats now. I read 4,851 pages and listened to 92.5 hours of audiobook, which is higher than last month. So, past few months, honestly. What month did I read? Why did I look at other stats and say that I read 132 hours? What the hell? My average rating was a solid 3.6. Not mad. There was a lot of mid books this month. 0 were rereads, which is very surprising for me, and 6 were authors of color. I read a lot of translated works too. I think on the top of my head I can think of 3 that weren't manga. So plus manga, that's 5. This is gonna be so disjointed editing. Oh my god. 2 were anthologies slash essay collections, right? Thank you, Fridge, for turning on at this exact moment. 4 were erotica, 3 were fantasy. There was a historical of some kind, a horror, a mystery, and nonfiction, and 8 romance, a sci-fi, and a thriller. Wild time. Wild time. Formats, I did 5 just audio, 13 just ebooks, 2 physical, and 3 mixed media. 2 of those being physical audio, and 1 of them being audio ebook, right? We have the audience. I have 14 adult, 1 middle grade, 2 new adult, and 6 YA. So, good times. 3 were debuts, 11 were from authors I read before, and 9 were new to me. Okay, let's go into ratings. There was a 5-star, a 4.58, 4 stars. Okay. 3, 3.5, 7 3 stars, a 2.5, and 2 DNFs. Both of those, I'm 98% sure, were NetGalley books, so sad. But one of them is softy enough. I will say that one of them is softy enough. Like, I'm going to try again at some point when I'm not on the verge of a reading, so that's another thing. You would be able to tell because I read 29 books, but I was on the verge of a reading sub for most of the month. Hello, we have moved over here. The computer is in a weird position, balancing on my dresser drawer right there. So if you see the reflection of my glasses from me looking over there, that's fine. First book I read was Come Closer. Finally, I rated 3.5 stars. It's been so long. I barely remember what happens in that book. The stuff with the quiz of her constantly seeing if she's possessed was interesting. The ending was kind of a letdown, but rated 3.5 stars. Then I read Able by Katie Rupper because I'm me. This is where I mentioned the podcast. It's up above in the cards, as it is usually, also down below, in all the links. But I rated it 4 stars. It was good. I don't know what else to say. Sad that it's indefinitely paused until she has more time to write more, because I was really excited for the 3rd book and whatnot, but that's fine. And yeah, it's good. I don't know what to say. I've read so many Katie Roberts this year. Then we get the first physical book and first translated book, Kitchen. I needed for all my challenges. We don't need to talk about the challenges, the books I need to read for challenges to finish them all by the end of the year. It's fine. But this, I have owned for a while. I had to buy it for school, and then we never read it for school because, how schools are. So I had it on my shelves. It starts with a K, so I put it for the K. It was either that or the Klingon book, because I have a book that's Klingon. It teaches how to read, speak Klingon. I'm normal. So I decided to pick this up because I heard good things about it. And this is an example of one that is poorly translated, which comes into the next book as well. But basically, it was fine. I did still feel emotions, connect with like certain lines because I like highlighted parts in it. But for me, looking at reviews after the fact, I learned that it is universally accepted that translation of this book is not good. Like, it is recommended you read it in the original Japanese if you can. I believe Japanese. Yeah, I believe so. So, because in the original Japanese, it's much more lyrical, the prose is so much better, all this stuff, the metaphors make more sense, everything just makes more sense if you read it in the original Japanese. If you read it in the translation, it feels very disconnected, disjointed, all that fun stuff. And so because of that, I gave it 3 stars. And it's not because of this book. This book, I think, was set up for me to love it if I was able to read it in the original original language. But in that vein, the book I read after that was Life Ceremony, which I believe is also Japanese. Don't quote me on that. But also translated. And that one was translated so well and so good. I took in-depth notes. It's gonna be a podcast episode at some point. It was so good. I don't know what to say. It was creepy. It was weird. I love how the first story in it is literally just like people are turned into furniture and clothing. Have fun. Very much gave me Tender to the Flesh in the way that like you have these 2 characters. One of them just accepts this like part of society, right? Everyone just lives his life, and then you have her fiance who is very much like, that's weird, kind of being like us. We're like, that's not normal, you shouldn't do that. Meanwhile, society's like, yeah, you should be reused as furniture. That's what everyone wants. And all that stuff, and very much gonna be Tender to the Flesh in the way that that one is. We as an audience is like, what the fudge, but it's like a normal thing for society at that time in this book. So like, yeah, it's definitely a weird one to start off with. It was good, rated 4 stars. Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure I put every one of her other books on my TBRs. So, you know, good times. And then I read the book for the weekend revlog. I'm not going to go into it, but it was Spanish Love Deception, and I did not like it. This is the one that I did audio and ebook. The only reason I was able to finish it is because I picked up the audiobook, and I sped through that bitch. Because I knew if I put it down and tried to pick it up the next day, I would have DNF'd it. The first 100 pages, I hated it. I despised it. The middle section, really liked it. It was like 4 stars. And then the last 50 pages, I also despised. Not as much as the first 100 pages, but it was definitely giving 1.5, 2 stars for the beginning and ending, and in the middle was like 4 stars. So I rounded it out to like a 2.5, because that feels right. I will read the next book because I'm interested. Probably have to do that one by audio as well. But yeah, that's it. I mean, if you want to see me go through that whole entire process, watch the vlog because it's a time. And then I read a short story for part of the Percy Jackson universe, Percy Jackson, Singer of Apollo. I believe I rated that one 4 stars. Yeah, it's like 33 pages. It's really short. It's like Grover's birthday. And then Apollo does some stuff. Percy Jackson ends up hanging pantsless off a billboard, I'm pretty sure. You know, normal things. And then it's just him being like, what would Annabeth do? And the way that Percy Jackson describes things is just hilarious. Yeah. And then we get into where my reading slump basically started. One night in Heartswood. If you watch my videos where I do my daily reading based on screen time, blah, blah, blah. I haven't posted any in a bit again. I have a bunch that are recorded and I have to upload. It's fine. I rated this book 3 stars. It took me nearly a week to read it. I meant to take 2 days. And I don't know why. I rated it 3 stars. It was fine. It slumped me. It slumped me bad. I think part of my issue is the fact that neither one of them tells the other one their true identity. The whole entire first half of the book, I think up to around 68%, is when one of them learns the other one's true identity, but he doesn't still tell him his true identity until like another 10%. Okay? And he doesn't even tell him. They both learn from other people and they're both freaking out and all. It's this whole thing. The ending I did really enjoy. Once they end up, and I don't remember that one guy's name. I don't remember either one of them name, but to his family castle and whatnot, and he has to do all these political games, and it's very clear that like one of them's more of like the Aragon. That's how I pictured him, doing like all this ranger and hunting and outdoorsy stuff, and then he is more of like political stuff, being able to understand people. And how those tie into each other. That was nice, I guess. But basically one of them is engaged to the other one's sister, but he is gay and secretly, and his dad is very abusive. So he goes on the run, accidentally runs into him, not knowing that he's his betrothed sister, and him not knowing, or brother, his betrothed brother, and him not knowing that he's his sister's betrothed, and they end up starting a relationship. Good times. You know, and then I started the Test Dare vlog, or I finished technically 2 series in my finishing series vlog. First one is Say Yes to the Marquess. I read that one 4 stars. Let's see if I can figure out which ones are which. That one is the one where her fiance has basically never showed her any affection. He hasn't even kissed her yet, and they've been married for like, or engaged for like 8+ years. The whole entire reason why they're engaged because their families were close and whatnot, but like no one left in the family, and then she inherits a castle, so she goes to his brother who has been running the household while the fiance is off doing secretly spy stuff, but everyone thinks he's just doing stuff for the country and whatnot. And so he's all like, hey, you can't like stop this engagement, blah blah blah. But he's also secretly had a thing for her this whole time, and also he's a fighter. And so he shows up to this family get together at her castle that she just inherited, where he learns that she's actually really smart and no one really cares because she's a woman and whatnot. No one's ever shown her love or affection, and him trying to provide with her with the knowledge that like, hey, marrying my brother, a good idea, by like doing all this stuff with cakes and doing a fake wedding, blah blah blah. He ends up proving that he's into her. I think they do it once or twice before the brother shows up, and then he's all like, I'm gonna marry you, and that's when the brother shows up and he's all like, I love you. And she's like, bitch, where the hell you been for 8 years? No. And then she also kicks out her horrible sister, and it was fun. It was pretty good. And the ones I read, I think it's maybe my favorite or my second favorite, I don't remember. I watched a lot of 4 stars. And then I read When Scott Ties the Knot, which is the one where she writes fake letters to, she has like social anxiety really bad, so she writes letter, I think it's because like she was in a stampede or trample, I don't know, stuff like that when she was a child. So she writes fake letters to a beau who is Scottish, or whatnot, and then fakes his death and whatnot. And then the real life guy that the letters were actually sent to shows up to her castle in Scotland that she inherits, and it's all like, hey, I'm gonna actually marry you, and I'm gonna blackmail you with these letters, and I'm gonna take this castle for my friends because like this is actual Scotch stuff. And he like tries to like say that she doesn't know Scottish culture. She sometimes does, sometimes doesn't. And she doesn't understand the people, and she doesn't like show her face to the people and all this stuff. And then like she goes and proves that like she talks to people on a regular basis, blah blah blah. Eventually they do end up together at the end. It's very much a lot of him being like, hey, I'm blackmailing you, love me, and her being like, no, you're blackmailing me, and then being like, you know what, I love you, I don't care about those letters. And then the end. it wasn't my favorite. 3 stars, you know, just a grand old time. I'm trying to scroll down. There we go, did it. Next arc, I read 84 pages of plot twist before I DNF'd. This one was because I was actually interested in like the romance aspect itself. He's got a history of addiction that he just went to rehab for recently. He's doing all the AA meetings, all the stuff, but also like no one in his family or anyone knows, and the reason why he stopped acting. So his family's all like, start acting, and he's like, no. And then she lives on his land. I think he's like her landlord, and she's like a romance writer. Some things happen with TikTok, and then she starts questioning all her exes on why they didn't work out. There's this one ex from her past. There's also like a whole thing where she has like a heart condition. Hear me out. About half of what I read was just TikTok and book talk, and I don't want to read about book talk in a book. Thank you very much. And that's why I DNF'd it. And I think a lot of people were the same way from the reviews I saw. Then I read the second book in the Simeon Valley series by Katie Robert Broderick, the last one that's out. Rated that one 3 stars because there's a lot about abuse in it. And it was like not done in a harmful way or anything, but it was surprising, not what I was expecting, and not usually what I want when I'm reading a romance, right? Like, it wasn't bad, it just wasn't what I was expecting or wanting. So that's why it's 3 stars. Good times. Then I read the last Tessa Dare, Do You Want to Start Scandal? You know that fiance that was actually a spy? Well, he's in this one, and also the youngest sister of a family from the Spindle Cove series, my favorite series of Tessa Dare. I say I've finished 2 now. And now it's believed that they are actually doing it. They did it and people overheard. There's like a whole bunch of stuff of like the mystery aspect I was not the biggest fan of, but wild things happening, including him setting fires to trick her into forcing her to marry him. You know, good times. So yeah, I think I rated that one 4 stars as well. I just wish that one had the mystery aspect of like who actually was banging in the room, what had more of like an actual ending, right? Like that ending was not it. And 2, it kind of just breezed past the whole entire sister of her best friend constantly demeaning her in front of everyone, and no one stopping her, and then her best friend believing everything she said and being like, you bitch, I will never talk to you again. And then like at the end, like very end, like the epilogue, it's like, we're friends again. No, I want more to that, okay, right? But I rated 4 stars. It was pretty good. Moving on. I read 2 volumes of Ouran. I've read volume 10 and 11. I rated both of them 4 stars. I'm not going to talk about them separately because I don't remember which one is which. Again, they're still good. I'm pretty sure one of these had the whole aspect where there's a trip to France. There's like this new girl who's a princess and she looks a lot like Tamaki's mother. And so he's like super nice to her and whatnot because he remembers his mother and whatnot. And then there's like this school trip to France, which is where he's from, and he decides to skip the school trip because he doesn't want to have to deal with the possibility of seeing his mother, because if he sees his mother, then he's disowned by his father, and then his mother's not taken care of anymore, and she's super sick, so he can't go see her. And so that whole thing is happening in one of those books. Also, there's a lot of Mori with chickens. Mori with the baby chicken. Also, I'm just gonna put up a picture that I took a screenshot of Tamaki crying in the corner, and I feel like it's just a mood, right? But yeah, that was that. I read both those 4 stars. And then for the one where Fish Bestie picked books from my physical TBR, first one for that was Gone Girl, which is hella long. This is one of the 2 that I did, both audio and physical. I gave it 3.5 stars. I went about it very long in the vlog, so I'm not going to go heavy into it, but basically, I don't think the characters, like, if it was any other author, I don't think I would have gone through with it. I think I would have DNF'd it, especially since it's 555 pages, so what the fuck? But, because I like her writing so much, I was able to, I don't want to say push through, but, go through with it, and I liked it more than you would expect based off the way the characters are. 3.5 stars. And then I read Not Good for the Maidens, again for the podcast, rated it 3 stars. It was fine. I didn't like, there were 2 timelines, and there was May, and there was, is her name Lou? Something like that. And I didn't like her timeline as much. I liked the May timeline. And then, so like half the book was very boring for me because of that. And then 2, things were said, but nothing was really explained about like Goblin Market and what was all the Goblin Society and the witch world as well and all this stuff. And so we both kind of wished there was a second book, like it was a duology, so that there was more time to like delve into all that one stuff. There was like one line that I loved a lot, but like otherwise it was all very mid. So I went with 3 stars. And then another physical book, one that I stayed up until 1 a.m. to finish one day. 172 Hours on the Moon. This is my favorite book of the month. What the fuck? Bestie, real life bestie, sent this to me. It has her initials on the inside of it. She read it when she was 14. This is also translated. This one, he's Norwegian and whatnot. But basically, NASA wants to go into space again to research something they found up there that's a little questionable. And so they are going to say that they're going up there to mine rare resources, which is a lie. because they're actually going to be researching that thing. So that people pay money, but also they're going to do a lottery thing where 3 teenagers can go up with the astronauts for the whole week on the moon, because then they can like make it a publicity thing, and that will also get more money thrown at it. Big deal. So that happens. You follow the 3 teenagers. Literally, as soon as they get on the moon, people start dying. It's as soon as they get on the moon, it's chaotic. The first, like, it wasn't boring until you got to that point, but it was interesting. There's also like pictures throughout. I'm trying to find one. There's pictures throughout, and whatnot. Yeah, see, picture. The prologue is the scientists talking about the with like the heads and whatnot of the company or whatever, about going back into space in a few years. And like there's people's names blacked out. The last page is literally all blackness, and it's like 50 years or something like that later, and them going back into space after everything. That was the last very end of the book. Yeah, this. Let me tell you, the end of the book. Who let him? Honestly. But yeah, I love this. I literally could not sleep. I literally shook into my core. I was shaking in bed when Mia sees her reflection in that one scene. No, I cried actually when the connections to all 3 of them, literally the day before they go to the NASA bases to start their training and whatnot, right? They all experience weird things, like a plane crash that didn't actually happen, weird ghost girl in the bathroom. There's a dog coming up my stairs. Hi, baby. So, there's like all this weird stuff, and when it finally reaches a connection to the stuff on the moon, I cried. It's so good. I know Fish is now gonna read it, and by I know they're gonna read it, I mean I'm sending it to them. When I finally finish their birthday present, you know, from when their birthday's in September, I'm gonna send this with that. I'm gonna put my initials in it too, so it's all their initials in it. Don't worry, Bessie already said to do it. She said to do it before I even asked if I could do it. So, you know, I'm sending it to them because I feel like this is something where, like, when you read it in your physical hands, it's so much better. But yeah, this was great. 5 stars. And then second place for favorite, in a surprising twist of events, we have Alice Feeney. I have read 2 other Alice Feeney's, one of them this year. I lowered both those ratings by half stars because, like, Rock, Paper, Scissors should not have been a 2.5. That should have been 2. But I read Daisy Darker. I picked this up. When Stanley told me to read this, I went, bitch, what the fuck? I told you I have not liked really any of her books yet, and you told me to read this one specific book, especially since it's like a locked door mystery, and I don't really like locked door mysteries. This one had more to the locked door mystery. When the revelations happened, I will tell you, I don't remember if I was crying or not, but I was definitely in bed just like, but I listened to the audiobook at the same time, because I think I started the audiobook around the time that the first death happens, because it was very slow getting up to that point. And I was like, because you know the exact time the grandmother dies, which is the first character who dies. So I was like, okay, I was like I figured out what page I was on. I was like, okay, I'll get to that page and I'll try to read a little bit more. And it was getting difficult to get through that point. So I pulled up the audiobook, and one of my Goodreads friends said the audiobook was really good, so I did that. Spectacular. The ending, oh my god. I feel like the connections that I made to everything that else happened with the revelations after the fact was great, and I feel like doing a reread knowing the things that I know now would also be a great idea, but because of that first like 80 pages or something was difficult for me to get through, I'm going with a 4.5, but like it's probably going to be a 5-star if I reread it, right? But yeah, this is very surprising, honestly. You want me to put our sweater on? Oh, baby, you're just standing here. You weirdo. Oh, thank you. Come here. Let me put the sweater on you. You can't go down the stairs without me putting the sweater. Bella! Stay. Am I going to keep the part where I had to put my dog's sweater on her? Yes. Because that was just funny. You didn't get to see any of it, but it was really funny. Godly Heathens. I just learned Katie Robert really loved this book, which makes me sad because I almost DNF'd it multiple times. I pushed through it though. 3 stars. I think my issue was the characters themselves, the way they acted. These are like they've been on Earth for 1,000-year gods, and also they live for eons in another universe, and yet they're acting like they're teenagers and can't communicate at all and all this stuff. And I'm just like, you have lived for eons. I'm pretty sure you know how to sit down and have a fucking conversation. So yeah, that annoyed me. The ending was interesting, but not enough to make me think about picking up the second book, so I don't think I'm going to. And whatnot, 3 stars. And then I picked up the next NetGalley book, which is the one I was most excited for. Gwen and Art Are Not in Love, which is Queer Arthurian. If you think Queer Arthurian, you think me. If you think anything else, you are wrong. And I got 46 pages into it before I DNF'd. I really disliked how Arthur treated Gwen in the beginning, and then it got to the point where she very quickly, like within 3 chapters, she learns that he's catches him kissing boys, and he assumes that she's into this girl, and then starts blackmailing her with the information that she likes a girl to like make it so she doesn't tell anyone about him, despite the fact that she wasn't going to. And so then he does but I assumed after that they would actually sit down and have a conversation and then it'd be nice. But like still, he's like still being really mean to her, and whatnot. And then actually finds her diary to blackmail her even more and all this stuff. So I DNF'd it. But this is the soft DNF because I will try again when I'm not in a slumpy mood. I had just read a book that put me in a slump. And so to read another book that was probably going to put me in a slump back to back was not it. So I stopped DNF'd. I'm gonna try again at another point. I gotta scroll down again. After that, I read the Mary Oliver essay collection Upstream because you know I need to read nonfiction books. Nonfiction books. And I got it from the library. It was fine. I think I rated it 3.5 stars. Yeah, there was one whole section that was just about fish, and I was freaking I hate fish. So I was like screaming. Literally messaged the fish stingray about it, and they were like, wow, you must be having fun. No. There was a whole section about other writers who are long dead now and about their lives, and I'm like, why am I reading this? I'm not in a creative writing college career path anymore. Like, please. So the only thing that happened is that I decided to look up one of the books that she talked about in that section, but like it was a good quarter of the book, maybe more. It was very long. I'm very sluggish to get through. So you know, good times. And that's why it's a 3.5, not a 4. And then I read the X Ingredient because alphabet reading challenge. And also lesbian sport. I almost said sports. Nope, lesbian office romance. People were talking. It is an upper class lawyer and her assistant who's like 18 years her junior. And my main, it took a lot to get through the point because like when the book starts, the lawyer lady married to a man and constantly denying the fact that she's gay, like literally the whole entire time until like the very end. She's like, I'm not gay, I'm not bi, I'm not any of these stuff. No. Meanwhile, Lori is all like, are you sure about that? Because you say that you're not having sex with a woman, but you're letting a woman go down on you. So like, so you know, good times. Their communication was not the best, and being as one of them is like 40, please, for the love of God. Everything was very predictable, but it was fine. I didn't dislike the writing. 3 stars. I may pick up another of the author's works because I know she writes a lot of lesbian fiction. And then another episode for the podcast, we have Born Darkly by Trisha Wolfe, which is about, I keep on calling her a psychiatrist in all videos, but she's a psychologist and her patient who's a convicted serial killer. But let me tell you, there's so much more. It is 8 hours long, the audiobook. The ebook is less than 300 pages. That shit is stocked full of plot. The episode title, hilarious. That was because of fish. There may be a thing where he does pull-ups, completely nothing on the bottom. He's wearing a shirt and that's it. Pull-ups, and he reaches completion doing pull-ups. Just shillangin' dog is how I called it. But yeah, that one was so wild, so weird. Was not what I was expecting. There's no way you could expect where that's going. And I'm so excited to read the sequel. And I rated 4 stars. It was good. And that's it. That's all 21 books. I'm gonna go take a leave now because my head hurts now. And that's all I gotta say, I'm gonna go do that. Next videos after this is the last read with me for a long time. I don't have scheduled any for a long time. So like on any of next year, I don't have any planned. And then it's gonna be the weekend reading vlog that I should be reading the book of right now. But yeah, that's it.